Today on Florida Sport Fishing.
I'm going to be ready, and my passengers are going to be ready. We've got an incoming sea here right in front of us, so we want to keep that bow down. Ho-ho, what on?
CV Boats presents Florida Sport Fishing, television for the avid angler, powered by Mercury Marine.
Oh, yeah. There's a sailfish. Already got a bite. Ridiculous.
Another one on, another one on.
That's what it's all about right there.
Nice jump.
Oh, look at that. Look at that.
Florida Sport Fishing TV proudly utilizes and endorses VMC Coastal Black Hooks, engineered to withstand the harshest saltwater environments. Salt Life Optics, Italian style and Zeiss lenses provide unparalleled contrast and clarity for finding fish faster. Tsunami, a complete line of tackle and tools designed and manufactured for maximum fish catching success. Boat Outfitters, a huge selection of tackle storage systems to keep your gear organized and your lines tight. King Sailfish, providing anglers worldwide with the finest fish mounts. Visit kingsailfishmounts.com and order your trophy today.
Hi guys, I'm Captain Mike, and welcome to another episode of Florida Sport Fishing TV. We've got a really neat episode in store for you here today. For starters, we're not going fishing. The weather's been crazy. We've had a ton of thunderstorms, a ton of wind all week long. Just starting to clear up here a little bit today. We'll probably get rained on as well. But it really is going to give us a great opportunity to film this show that I've been wanting to do for quite some time on safe boating, boat handling skills, situational awareness. There's so much to talk about. And I'll tell you, it all goes hand in hand with successful fishing. It really does, because one mistake, one error could cost you the entire trip or even worse. You know, it all starts with safe boating, and you have to think about that long before you leave the dock. You know, I'm not saying that every boater is going to do a pre-trip checklist and double check everything before every single trip, even though you should. We all know that's not really the reality. However, it's certainly important that you know that you're well equipped with not only all of the necessary and the required safety equipment, but go above and beyond. You know, aboard our CV370, I've got a complete ditch bag. It's got all sorts of safety equipment, signaling devices, you know, personal locator beacon, EPIRB, all kinds of stuff. I've got a ton of life jackets, fire extinguishers, throw buoys. I recently came across this life cell. This is really an awesome device. Instead of your typical throw buoy, this can be really well equipped with all sorts of safety gear, can keep a few anglers afloat. Really a neat piece of equipment that everybody should have on their boat. But I'll tell you, what's even more important than having all of the equipment on the boat is making sure that all of your passengers and making sure that everybody that's on the boat knows not only where the equipment is, but how to utilize it. Where are the fire extinguishers? Where are the life jackets? How do I put them on? A clear line of communication, period, is the key. I cannot say it enough times, you know, for safe boating and to make sure that you have an absolutely awesome trip.
The award-winning Z Performance line from CV raises the bar. It's not just fast. It's not just fuel efficient. The CVZ is the entire package. It offers the perfect balance, safe, predictable handling during hard turns and at high speed. And most importantly, the Z stays on plane at lower speeds, so it can comfortably handle anything Mother Nature can dish out. Experience the exhilarating ride of the CVZ. Schedule a sea trial today.
What if navigating was as simple as touch and go? It is that simple. The world's first multi-touch MFD chart plotter, Navnet TZ Touch.
Soft Science, on and off the water, I love these shoes. Amazingly lightweight, fast drying, stable and supportive. Based on biomechanics, soft science shoes reduce foot and back pain and are the most comfortable footwear I've ever worn. And when you stand on the deck of a boat all day, that makes a big difference. Anglers and boaters demand shoes that are slip resistant, non-marking, and stain and odor resistant, and Soft Science delivers. Dozens of fashionable styles and colors available at softscience.com.
Another one on the jig. Woo! That's Grouper Dynamo.
Yeah! How's that for a sea monster?
Chaos. Gear matters. Shop online or visit our new superstore for everything fishing.
So here it is, we're getting ready to leave. Obviously, I'm gonna look around. Don't be afraid to push yourself off of a piling if you need to a little bit, okay? Don't be afraid to do that, to give yourself a little bit more room. There's nothing the matter with that. And slowly just pull away, Make sure you know exactly what's going on around you at all times. Look behind you, all around you. Pay attention not only to what you're doing, but more importantly, or equally as important, to what everybody else around you is doing, especially on a congested, crowded weekend. You're gonna have a lot of boats coming and going. A lot of boats coming and going. We all know that. And I'll tell you, sometimes it's not about, like I said, not about what you're doing, but it's about what everybody else is doing. So I've pulled away, we're clear, everything looks good, and that's it. We're ready to go fishing. So we've pulled away, we're on our way out, and there are many, many situations around the state of Florida, West Coast, East Coast, where, of course, you're coming out of a residential neighborhood. You've got to enter the Intracoastal Waterway, the main highway, obviously, that goes up and down both coasts. And you've got to really be familiar not only with your particular area, but also any other areas where you're going to be boating and fishing. You have to understand all of the markers. You have to understand the no wake zones, and they change a lot. Just as an example, this one little stretch here, we can run at 25 miles an hour, but only for a certain part of the year. Other parts of the year, it's a manatee zone and it's a no wake zone. And you've got to know this, because I'll tell you what, ignorance is not going to get you out of a ticket. You can't say to the FWC officer, the local sheriff, you can't say, hey, I didn't know. When you enter that intracoastal, just like entering any other thoroughfare or highway, it's obviously imperative that you look both ways. And again, I know this sounds naive and really common sense, but I've seen so many people do it. They just fly up to the intercoastal, they cut right across, and even if there's a lot of traffic, fortunately today, as I mentioned, the weather's been crazy all week. We'll probably get some showers later. There's not a lot of traffic. There's practically nobody out on the water here this morning, so certainly it makes boating easy. But on weekend days, tournament days, holidays, when it's really busy, you're going to experience a lot of traffic. Boats are not like cars. You can't slam on the brakes and boom, the boat stop. It's not going to happen. There's a lot of forward momentum. The boat's cruising forward. Maneuvering is not as easy as it is in a vehicle. So you've got to take all of these different things into consideration.
Pros Tip, presented by Pelagic Gear, official apparel provider of Florida Sport Fishing TV.
Today's outboard-powered center consoles are getting bigger, more powerful, faster than ever before. Used to be where a 25-foot center console was the cat's meow. Nowadays, we've got boats in the high 30s, 40s, even in the 50s, center consoles in the 50-foot range. I mean, who would have thought that the market would have reached this level? But the bigger that these boats are, the more power they need, the more outboard engines. The days of a single outboard, certainly there's a segment of the market for that, but for these big, powerful offshore center consoles, twins, triples, quads, are the norm. There are even boats with 5 outboard engines. Why you would need 5 outboard engines is beyond me, but that's a different story altogether. Mercury makes it so easy. You've got a digital throttle box, you've got 2 levers. When both of those levers are engaged in the same direction, all 3 or 4 motors, in the case you have a quad-powered boat, are all engaged in that same direction. If I want to, of course, go forward, I put both of my levers forward, all of the engines are engaged to move forward. If I want to go in reverse, I put both of my levers in reverse, all of the engines are engaged to go in reverse. If I only use one of those throttles, then only that engine is engaged. If I want to spin the boat on a dime, I can take my starboard throttle forward, my port throttle reverse, and just the outboard engines are going to move in forward and reverse. The center engine or center engines are going to remain in neutral. They're not going to engage. So with 2 throttles, you can control 3, 4, even 5 outboard engines. It's really, really simple technology that has come so far, and it's so user-friendly. Of course, there's also joystick controls nowadays for tight docking situations, but in most cases you don't need that as far as I'm concerned. But here, like I said, the twin levers make it so simple. Bridges. Let's talk a little bit about bridges. Okay, regardless if you're along the eastern seaboard here, if you're along the Gulf Coast, we all know there's a lot of bridges that go over the Intracoastal Waterway, over canals, ton of bridges. Regardless of what the law is on the Intracoastal at that time, even if you can run, if it's not a manatee zone, okay, if it's not a no-wake zone and you can run, in any scenario, when you're approaching a bridge, you've got to pull them back. Pull back that throttle, pull back the levers, okay, and idle. Idle your way up to the bridge, idle your way through the bridge. Now, who has the right of way of bridges? Something really important that I've seen it a million times, and I know you've seen it a million times. You're at a bridge, you've got a boat on the other side, you're both looking at each other and you're wondering, are you going? Am I going? Who's going? Okay. Well, I'll tell you who's going. The guy that has the tide with him. Okay, so if you are being pushed forward, if that tide is pushing you toward that bridge, that incoming tide, the outgoing tide, whatever the case is pushing you toward the bridge, you have the right of way. Okay, keep that in mind. Why? Because you have less steerage. You have less control of your boat. When that tide is approaching you and you are bow into it and you are facing into the tide, you have more control of your boat. You have more steerage. Okay, so it's the guy who has the tide behind him who is being pushed toward the bridge. He has the right of way. Another thing that's really important to mention about bridges is clearance. Again, I know it sounds silly, but I've certainly seen people run under a bridge and, hit their antennas, hit their outriggers, their rods are smacking, underneath the bridge. It's all about clearance. You don't need 10 feet. Truthfully, you need 1 inch. I mean, as long as you can get underneath there and clear everything, you're good to go. You really are. But you've got to know your exact clearance from the water level, not from the bottom of your boat. Remember that. From the water level to the highest point in your boat, you need to know that number right in the top of your head.
There's a world out there, accessible only to those bold enough to make the trip. And for a limited time, you can be part of it all. Breathe new life into the boat you love by joining the ranks of those who go forth into adventure. Mercury Marine invites you to join the bold. Announcing Mercury's Repower Revolution. For a limited time, get up to a $1,000 rebate or 0% financing and no payments for 6 months. Mercury, go boldly.
It's your turn to score big. Book a long-range adventure aboard the legendary Yankee Captains. Fish virgin waters more than 100 miles offshore for exotic queen snapper, trophy tilefish, monster grouper, and more. With a lifetime of experience, let Captain Greg Mercurio and his dedicated crew put you on a hot bite. Fish around the clock or just relax. With full galley and huge fish boxes, all you'll need to bring is your appetite for action. Now sailing from Key West year-round.
Fortress, the world's best anchors. Stronger, faster, lighter. High-tech aluminum alloy makes Fortress anchors the easiest to handle. Precision machining and sharpening results in the fastest setting anchor. Fortress buries deep for the strongest holding power. With 8 models from 4 to 69 pounds, there's a Fortress anchor for you. Fortress, stronger, faster, lighter.
Joey Accardi Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram reminds you that before you can do this, you have to do this. And before you can do that, you're going to need this. Save thousands on every new Ram truck at Joey Accardi in Pompano Beach. Family owned and operated, and bringing South Florida our best deals for over 25 years. So before you can do this, do this. And before you can do this, you have to do this. Visit joeyaccardicdjr.com.
Hey guys, welcome back to Florida Sport Fishing TV. If you're just joining us, we're spending the day not fishing, but actually boating. You know, we're talking a lot about safe boating. We're talking about situational awareness, about, reading the water, understanding aids to navigation, what to do when you approach a bridge, how to dock a boat, all kinds of good stuff. And again, a lot of us experienced boaters, we take it for granted, but there's a whole segment of the market out there, new boaters that are moving up, that are really hungry for answers, and we're giving you the answers today, that's for sure. So we're to a point now where we're approaching an inlet, and this is one of the really trickiest areas for a lot of boaters, a lot of novice boaters. On a flat, calm day, easy peasy. You can paddle your way out of an inlet on a kayak or a stand-up paddleboard or any sort of power boat, and it's a piece of cake. However, on a day where you have adverse conditions, you've got a lot of breeze, you've got a chop, you've got current ripping in and out of the inlet, a lot of different elements are coming into play, and you need to be able to have complete control of your vessel. And as you approach that inlet, I like to say you need to attack the inlet. You need to stop, evaluate the position, evaluate the situation, what's going on around you, who's around you, and how are you going to attack that inlet to get out. Sometimes slow, believe it or not, isn't always the best scenario when you're approaching an inlet and heading out the inlet. Sometimes you need to power up. You need that extra oomph to punch you right through that inlet. Trim tabs also play a very big part, a very big role in controlling your boat as you're headed out the inlet into a head sea. Those waves are pouring in, they're rolling in. You might have an east or northeasterly breeze pushing in. You want to be able to punch right through that. You've got to put your bow down. You've got to put your trim tabs down, put that bow down, punch right through those waves. You don't want that bow coming up into the air, up into the sky. On the contrary, when you're coming back into an inlet in a following sea type of scenario, you don't want your trim tabs all the way down. You don't want that bow down. You want that bow up. Why? Because if you had that bow down and you had your trim tabs all the way down, you essentially risk burying the bow. And what that means is a wave or a set of waves is going to overtake you from your stern, literally push you over the wave, and you're going to bury your bow into the next wave. Dangerous situation, because that next wave could literally pick up that stern and bury you even deeper. A really dangerous situation. So you've got to know your trim tabs. You've got to know how to control them, how to use them. Every boat is different. This 370 CV, I'll tell you, super sensitive, very, very responsive. I push those trim tabs, the boat reacts immediately. But not every boat is the same. Every boat is different, actually. So you've got to get dialed into your own boat, how it reacts, how it responds, and really get to know it like it's the back of your hand. Second nature. You've got to be one with your boat in order to be able to control it going in and out of an inlet, out on the ocean in any scenario, and of course inside in the intracoastal as well. So we're going to punch through here. We're going to put our tabs down. We've got an incoming sea here right in front of us, so we want to keep that bow down. We want to power up, so we plow right outside the inlet, and it's really that simple.
Marine Electronics, presented by Diamond Fishing Products, the finest monofilament, fluorocarbon, and braided fishing line in the world.
Hey guys, welcome to this episode's Marine Electronics segment. I want to talk to you for a minute about touchscreen multifunction displays. Listen, this is the way of the future, like it or not. All of the leading brands, Furuno, Simrad, Raymarine, Garmin, okay, I don't care who you go with. Certainly I'm a Furuno fan for the quality of their equipment and the versatility, but all of the major brands are coming out with touchscreen displays. It's nothing new, but it's becoming more and more prevalent across the entire boating industry. You know, I have to tell you, a few years ago, I was skeptical. I really was. I said, man, do I want a touchscreen display on my boat? My hands are grimy, salty, fishy. Is it gonna work properly? You know, the last thing in the world that I want is a multifunction display that doesn't operate when I need it to. So certainly I was very skeptical. 3 years ago, hooked up this boat with the Furuno TZ touch system, couple of screens, and I've got to tell you, I couldn't be happier. I couldn't be more pleased. So simple to operate, so simple to navigate between screens, and to be able to just touch the screen and to pan and to tilt and to zoom, you know, to go from 3D mode to 2D mode and to access all of the information that I want right at my fingertips, and right with different gestures with my fingers. Am I swiping to the left, swiping to the right? You know, again, the technology has come so far. Anti-glare screens so you can see them really well in direct sunlight. Super easy to use. They don't scratch, but the trick is to make sure when you're cleaning these screens that you do it the proper way. Don't use paper towels that are all grimy and sandy. Of course, that's going to scratch your screen. Use, you know, the soft cloths, the stuff that you would clean your sunglasses with. That's what you're going to use to clean your multifunction displays. You know, we're all so used to our smart devices, our laptops, controlling everything at our fingertips. Now, of course, our vehicles are the same way. Well, certainly now our boats are going down that same path. Florida Sport Fishing is the #1 magazine for resident and visiting anglers. Each giant issue is packed with informative editorials, easy to follow illustrations, and tips to keep you hooked up. Subscribe today and I'll deliver the magazine to your home for only 4 cents a day. Visit FSFTV.com right now, and I'll also include a hat, unlimited access to Florida Sport Fishing Digimag for your tablet and phone, and a special gift to keep you cool on and off the water.
It's in the heartbeat, it's in the real thing. You can make it up, it's in your soul. It's in the stripes, this dirt on my feet. The way I love my woman and the way she loved me. It's in the heartbeat.
Geico, more than just car insurance.
We're going to try out this new folding fillet knife from Bubba Blade on these big grouper. We're going to try to gut them and see how this thing works. Oh man, like butter. I mean, that doesn't get any easier. Golly, unbelievable. Right through like butter. I love the new gut knife from Bubba Blade. It's compact, the best of all, it's like a pocket knife, man. You just close that thing up and put it away. Love it, great little knife.
Florida Sport Fishing TV proudly utilizes and endorses MotorGuide trolling motors. Precise control and accuracy in challenging conditions means better fishing. Tropic Trailer, Florida's largest trailer dealer, has the right boat, cargo, or utility trailer at the right price. BioGreen Clean, the first heavy-duty, environmentally friendly multi-surface cleaner that actually works. Tsunami, hard plastic poppers and stick baits designed to deplete local fish populations. Please practice catch and release. Frigid Rigid, from 35 to 300 quarts, the finest coolers, fish coffins, and freezers on the water.
So here's another situation, you know, that a lot of boaters face on a regular basis. It's pulling up to a dock, may it be a fuel dock, may it be a marina, you know, a restaurant even out on the water, and they get really, really nervous when they're approaching a dock because they don't know how to handle their boat properly. And again, this is one of the scenarios where a twin or a triple outboard powered boat is much more easy to maneuver in these tight quarters than a single outboard engine boat. But again, it's very important that you approach that dock with your bow pointed into the current, into the wind, into the tide, whatever that factor is. You know, and some days the wind is going to be stronger than the tide. Some days the tide's going to overpower the wind, which is usually the case. So I want to keep my bow pointed into the tide. I don't want it behind me because that's going to push me away from the dock and potentially push me into boats that are potentially in front of me. So I want to keep my bow pointed right into that current, slowly ease my way right up to that fuel dock. Again, slow, take your time. You don't need to be in a rush. Once you get your bow right up into position, remember the boat's not going to go forward any longer, okay? The current and the tide are not pushing you. At that stage, you can put a single bow line on. The tide and the current will push you right up against the dock into position, and it's that simple. Takes a little bit of practice, but take your time, go slow. Don't try and sneak into, you know, little tiny spaces. If you've got a boat that's 33 foot and you see a space in between two boats that you estimate is maybe 35 foot, you know, unless you're a really good helmsman, don't try and sneak into that tiny little space. Tell you what, headed back to the dock, had a great day. Didn't fish, never wet a line, but we spent the day really talking about the fundamentals, you know, the fundamentals of safe boating, situational awareness, being a good helmsman. You know, us guys that are out here filming these fishing shows, we're always so busy focusing on catching fish and talking about tips and tricks and tactics and techniques and all that good stuff that we rarely have an opportunity to discuss, as I mentioned, the fundamentals of safe boating, and that's what we did today.
To learn more about the tactics and techniques seen on today's show and to subscribe to Florida Sport Fishing Magazine, visit floridasportfishing.com and get hooked up.